channel. Right knows at the big desk.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome back into the home stretch we go. 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. That means there's a couple hours left on a busy day. Ton of things moving around, including still grinding along the lows of the session here is AMC trying to hold on to 250. A little bit of a volume spike there just before we came back on, but wow, what a day it's been. 18.7% to the downside for AMC, multiple halts along the way, but 250 seems to be holding for the time being. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on all of these banks still weighing on the overall market. We are just hanging on to positive territory here, but it's been about the banks mostly as far as negativity is concerned, some coming from the semiconductor group here as well. But if you missed it this morning, the S&P coming out saying they were downgrading some of the smaller and mid-cap banks today following Moody's going back a few weeks ago. So that has all of these back under pressure. That has Fed Chair Powell also preparing for more questions regarding the state of the banking sector as he heads towards the next Fed meeting. AMD, Nvidia, pretty ugly all day long, 2.8%, 2.6% there for AMD, Broadcom 1% as well, Intel here 0.75%. All of this being offset somewhat, at least, from Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Oracle, even Netflix there, 0.8 to the upside, helping out a little bit. Amazon was positive. It's since reversed back to the downside. Tesla, same story. We're back to positive right now, but it's kind of been flipping back and forth. There's also notable weakness down here in the industrials group. Some of these industrial names that we've been talking about over the past little while, Caterpillar, DE, both with earnings recently, downside today, UNH. There was a note on this morning as well. Initially was upside, but no longer. Here's the overall NASDAQ, just chopping along this 363. We are red, as I mentioned, but only just right now. Coming off of that move that we saw yesterday, led by Nvidia, ahead of earnings. Yeah, Nvidia backtracks, to say the least, heading into the report after the close tomorrow. We're also on our way towards Jackson Hole coming up on Friday. We'll get Frank Caberna's take on what is Jackson Hole, what should we be prepared for, what should we expect from Fed Chair Powell. He's coming up at 2:45 this afternoon. It's worth noting 10-year has pulled back a little bit today. We're back to 4.2 and change. It was up as high as 4.33 early on this morning, which was another multi-year high for the 10-year. So rates continue to grind back to the upside overall. The market, yeah, it's been one of those days. We get a nice look in the pre-market, but as soon as the gates were unleashed, it was straight to the downside for the most part all morning long. If you were with us in the pre-market, we were discussing a few things. ZM was one of those. Zoom coming off their earnings report after the close yesterday. Nice move up to 74. Yeah, they give that back in the pre-market, and then it was Flush City, guys, to get going here on a Tuesday afternoon.
City. I mean, it was Flush City a lot of places. There's a lot of gates of hell stocks as well. Oddly enough, I didn't trade Zoom today. Didn't really. I had one look for Zoom, and it didn't really happen. I wanted a breakout. If it could have gotten back above the 50 period, I was just looking for it to open and be able to take out this level, and then that would be a positive reception to earnings. Instead, you can see like aftermarket, it was all to the upside. It was kind of rejecting and holding underneath 69 there. So it made a bit of a bottom right at yesterday's close. I'm like, okay, if that's a good base and this can get to the upside, just take it if it breaks out. Show me strength, I'll join it. Instead, you can see what happened. Zoom just fell right off the open, did not stop go, did not collect $200 or whatever it is. With inflation like Monopoly, it should be like do not collect $200,000 or whatever it works out to. But yeah, it's just an ugly day in the market. Good bounce for them, but it was never at a level that I would have been looking for a bounce or to play off it. So the only way you can usually get those is see bounce, play the high or low if you're watching it, get to the end of the low of the day, that kind of a thing. But Zoom now breaking down. If the market takes out the bottom, this would be a candidate for a VWAP breakdown. I've been fighting enough here that I wouldn't be fighting too many trends. It is one of the stocks that is holding up a lot better while the market creeps on lows. You're actually bouncing higher. Lots of names if you want to short something. I've got one long right now, and even that is kicking my butt. and that's U.S. Steel, which is like really, only because we're not going to talk about it, I'm just going to mention it because it's starting to move again. But I have been long off the 380, long off, just working, no problem. And then when I reloaded off 80, the amount of selling down here in the low 80s is pretty intense. This is what can happen. You get a downward trend, and then you, even if you're getting it in a good price, still need to get to VWAP to try to recover some of this. And it's a stock, like I would never short something like this because it's a bidding war, but it's a downward trend, and I've been essentially long pretty much all day since the open on the first dip. But because there's a bidding war on it, I would never really be thinking about shorting these peaks. But wow, it's dragging everything to the downside. This has had a great buyer, but it's not bouncing off these levels. Usually when it bounces off a support level, like you're making the money in 5 minutes. And this has been taking forever to get to the upside. It gives you an idea of the kind of down day that we're having today, where you're fighting it. Even on a good long, you're taking forever to get any kind of a bounce. Zoom had a good one. I don't know that I would be fighting that it's going to make a secondary push or anything like that.
All right. I'm just glad that we flipped over into the short here. We made a lot of money back here on Microsoft that we had lost earlier. But let's talk about Zoom quickly here. And then I'm going to address like the Nvidia that we were just long all morning into that. But okay, you know, again, I always feel like when you're trading earnings names, you always want to wait for this to happen, right? And that is that you get the 21 period, you have the 50 period moving average. Once you break it, that's the trend change, right? And so I feel like you would have just let Zoom sort of get to the downside here. Look at 63. I'm always nervous that my mic is off, but it's fine. You know, gets down here into that $63 mark, then starts taking out, I mean, it takes out the 50 period right there up at 65. You know, whether or not you might have taken that, then you probably would have got stopped out, but then the second time it was okay. And now that we're still on Zoom here, it's now just doing this barcode dance. So I feel like the 65.50 area here where VWAP is has really flatlined now. But the thing about it flatlining is you are also underneath the 200, the 50, and the 21 period. So, you know, probably comes back into VWAP. I think if it takes that, you can resume the short. It's just a matter of, is the market going to play short here the rest of the day? So, I don't know, maybe we are now finally in that wait and see period for the NASDAQ, finally taking a break a little bit here. I know I heard Sharif talking about, you know, some triple bottoms here. We've marked this down right there, 14,932 has been the bottom. So you take that out, then I think you want to short Zoom through those bottoms. But other than that, it's just going to be a little bit of a dance here, I feel like, the rest of the afternoon. We've been wrong going long, so I know Neil was just sort of talking about those positions. It's tougher to fight the trend than I thought it would be today. Nvidia has been a crazy, crazy name. And we're going to talk about that coming up very, very soon. So we'll look at Baidu, again, another name I haven't looked at, but we're going to do the same analysis when we get back from Brendo.
A lot of grindy action for the overall market today, but individual movers, including this next one, gave you such a huge flush out of the gate this morning. 129 right back to 125 in a straight line. This is a 3-minute chart, so 3 minutes, it gives back almost $5 in a straight line for Baidu. And then we recover the entire way back up to where it was in the pre-market. But if you missed it this morning, they reported overnight, comes out early this morning. They pointed to growth in, guess what, AI, and specifically Ernie bots. Still to come, they're waiting for the green light to roll out the full-scale version.
Yeah, so you can actually add plugins to the Ernie bot now, much in the same way that you can do with ChatGPT. That's a good look, but the majority of the revenue, which was up 15% year over year, came from digital ad sales. So it's not just good on this side of the ocean. Digital ad sales doing well in China as well, and they have 700,000 robo-taxis roaming around China, Brendo.
Yeah, that's not nothing. I can't wait, honestly. I cannot wait until they are here, because it's coming. It's coming. I was just doing some math here. $6, I guess. Yeah, top to bottom, guys. Crazy, wild action for Baidu out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure, and I know Sharif was reading an article this morning, like of that 700,000, the majority of them still have to have a safety driver in them. Like, I think it's a very, very small number in one particular city where you actually have a true robo-taxi where there doesn't have to be anyone in there. And they're just testing. It's kind of like what's going on in California, right? So they're not there yet, but lo and behold, the one stock that you could have successfully bought the dip, well, I mean, there's a couple. Apple probably an example as well, Google as well. But Baidu, sometimes it's hilarious because I wasn't looking at this when it happened. It goes right down into the previous close of 125 on the open. In one candle, this is a 3-minute chart here, in one candle off the open. So in 5 minutes, it makes that bottom right off yesterday's close and goes right back up to the top, rejects the top, it comes halfway. I mean, the symmetry is gorgeous for it, but as a Chinese ADR, I don't see a trade here in the afternoon. They usually go sideways, and it's at a level right at VWAP there that I don't, unless it breaks down from here, probably a bit of a nothing burger. So I didn't trade any of the Chinese names today. But a lot of times, if you're just looking for that whole catch a falling knife, you're just looking for a significant price level, and oftentimes the previous close is a good one. Today, it happened to be a perfect one. As we'll move on. Actually, let me get to VFS because it's moving, because that's not on there as well. We're going to get to AMC at least, but VFS, 1, 2. Oh, you can't. I got to zoom in so you can see it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times that I'm going to be in VFS. I told you I would never go. I wouldn't go long the stock. I would only look for my spots to try the short and then sit it out at only key levels. So 25, 30, and 40 were the only levels that I was shorting off of. Currently in the 40, none of them pull back far enough for a home run trade. So I said if I was going to be net red and my worst stock was going to be VFS if it went up, and I would take 3 shots at 3 levels. It's hanging around the 40 level. We gave multiple entries, one of which I'm sitting in. I was able to get a good pullback from like 41 into 36, but $5 on this, it needs to be pulling back $10. That's just it. And it never pulled back 10 cleanly. I decided discretion was a better, is that how it works? Discretion is a better part of valor?
Yes, I think that's right.
Is that the phrase?
I think so.
So right here is probably, I don't know, if it goes to the high of the day, this will be the smartest move I made. If it goes to $20, this will be the dumbest move I made. But right in here, when it held 36, I trailed some out when it got back above 38 because 38 was a big level. I said, you know what? This is it. I'm fighting this stock. Let me just lock in like $2 on half the position because it does not want to flush. And I'd still be sitting in the same thing right in here. So I'm like, I'll hold on to the baby amount just to see if we can get down to VWAP in here with a stop at 40. But this was the point that I made that decision. Like once it flushed and pulled back $5, if it's not going to continue then just tighten it up there a little bit on VFS. A lot of times I just hold on to the whole thing for VWAP, but I decided not to in this particular case. But Baidu, it was a nothing burger unless you happen to think that was the best dip buy of the day at 9:30, which I don't think anybody was thinking that.
The only thing you can do with Baidu here is it went right and filled yesterday's closing price.
You got to be looking though.
So, I mean that's just a trade, and we talked about that all the time. Filling the gap, coming right back in on a name, and that happened right there. So, you could have had that, but unlike the other name there, Zoom, very, very messy off the open here, right? And again, anybody can see that there's a couple trades here. That's the short at 131. Once, twice, thrice basically came into play. So you could have been short up here again. Right now, we don't like to look at too many Chinese names heading into the close because they tend not to move as much. Obviously, it's going to be market specific though. If the NASDAQ continues to dance, then something's going to happen here, that's for sure. But right now, we continue to look for Baidu short 131. I'm not convinced about any of these Chinese names. I don't even trust any of the earnings or anything like that. 3.5 million shares. I'd say you just continue to short it. I mean, don't look at me for trend is your friend, and we'll talk about that when we get to Nvidia, but straight to the downside right now. And by the way, tonight on the closing show, although I haven't traded it today, I was listening to what Neil was saying there, we're going to talk about VFS as a trade review. So join me today at 4 p.m. We will go over VFS, even though I don't have a trade in it. I want to talk a little bit about that. So more to come on that play, as it was interesting today. I also lost on Tesla, and we'll talk about that when that comes in. What a bottom that was at 230, like 230 to the dollar right there is pretty incredible there. We wound up losing on it, but not as much as we probably could have, but we got out of the way there when it took down 232. So yeah, wow, just looking at that bottom of 230 for Tesla could be an interesting one coming in here if we do come back a little bit in this market. I'm hoping for a tank because we're just short Microsoft now, but Tesla down to 230 looks pretty interesting to me, Brendo.
All right, let's talk AMC, as we mentioned when I came on there. 250 still holding here as a key level. That was the initial flush down to 250. We've been chopping around this all throughout the midday at least. Keep in mind, coming up on Thursday, This is happening. 10-to-1 reverse split. There was also, Sharif, you were trying to find a note.
Yeah,
I can't remember if it was Antera or Andera or something along those lines. Capital had a huge chunk in AMC, and they sold the entire thing ahead of this reverse split. So regardless, pretty ugly day here, to say the least.
I can't find it at the moment. We'll get back to you on that. Yeah, but the 10-to-1 coming up, market not liking it. We know that usually APE and AMC move in opposite directions. Lately, though, they've been moving in tandem as we get closer to this reverse split. They needed to raise money. They had their best month ever in July, Brendo. Let's see if they can keep it going.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, guys, coming up on Thursday.
I mean,
Best month ever for what?
Oh, they had a good quarter because, like, obviously people were going back to the theater. So I think that's what obviously Sharif is referring to, because it's been the last 2 days, maybe the last 3 days. It's been a nasty few days for AMC. Obviously, the only problem with the AMC short was that it was short sell restricted today, which made for all kinds of pains trying to get into position. Like yesterday, it was, it's pretty much exactly the same thing as yesterday. If we come to the chart, because I liked the breakdown at $4 yesterday, and then just did not get into it, couldn't get it. We're able to short it here at 370 a couple times into the big flush. Actually tried a long at the end of the day, which maybe I should have tried a long today off 250. I'll get to that in a second. So it was a similar story. Liked the short on AMC, couldn't get it SSR, it broke down. It actually wasn't until it halted down at 283, and then on the reopen breaking down, I was able to get in here at 80s, and 80.5 was the short. Got all the way down to the best was like 250, bounced off that. I missed a reload, again SSR. I wasn't sitting on the offer. I kept trying to get it in on the way down instead of on the way up, and that kind of burned me because I didn't get the reload there. And then it got all the way down to 250. I had one little pop short. After it broke 250, I shorted the 50 level, scalped out, and made a double bottom, and then I came back in front of 55, which just stopped out like a minute ago. So that just stopped out at 55. I was shorting here at 52s. I guess maybe the bottom is in for today. At least that's what it feels like. I still don't really want to be long in this name. I feel like until it gets to Thursday with the reverse split, you want to be careful shorting some pops, but there was a halt up price here at like 265 that maybe you could see that in the afternoon. But an ugly day for AMC, and we'll see what happens when they do that reverse split. I feel as if you could easily see a lot lower. I mean, APE was at $2. I don't see why you couldn't go lower than this. But it feels like we're always just basing out in the afternoon. The move is at the open, you short it at the open, and then you're kind of waiting around for the next day to be able to short AMC. Ugly, ugly, ugly price action for this stock. At some point, it probably finds a bottom and squeezes up. But until then, just keep going short.
All right, yeah, we highlighted AMC earlier today down to the $2 mark. I mean, I feel like we're eventually going to get there. I mean, whether or not it's a reverse split price or not. We've seen that a lot of these stocks go by the wayside on reverse splits. So for me, that's kind of like the last hurrah, and I don't like AMC anymore. But you know what? You'll find out. I mean, we'll just find out. Like when that reverse split happens, I think if you want to take a shot yesterday, AMC is a yesterday stock. I would agree with that downtime. I just want to say what's up to Lark Moto here. Can you check out FCell, please? It's popping, but hit the 50 EMA. So, all right, let's have a quick look at FCell here. Again, another name that not too many shares today, 9.5 million. You can see here, this is the NASDAQ 1 minute. I don't know why this is not loading up. I mean, I don't think FCell's done anything lately to give me no data. But look how bad this looks, man. Right now, this is a 52-week low marker right here on the chart. So you wanted to look if it was a sell, I guess, or what to do with your trade. Yeah, I mean, back to 180. I would still say you stay short until you get back to 180. Now, I know it's only 154, but this stock, definitely into Deadsville right now. You're probably going to get down to $1, and then you might want to look at this. We've seen big-time names move off of $1, like a Nikola. There's probably a few other ones. CEI at one point was going crazy off $1. And there's been lots of those names that will go, but then you just want to avoid that reverse split. So just on a daily chart, FCell hitting 52-week lows right now today. So that's never a good sign. And I would say that if you are long this name, I don't know what to tell you, to be honest with you, but The 50 period is all the way up at 214 on the daily, so you have a lot of work to do to get back there. If you're just talking about like an intraday kind of a trade, I would say that right there is a good level to start to re-up some of your trades, and then maybe give it into here, 168, 170, something like that. So I would say any sort of a bump back to 156 for FSL, you could re-engage in that short, but you could just see what's happened today. There's been no green candles until just now. So yeah, if you're looking to short FSL, I think you could short it right now at 150, 146, give it 10 cents back up to the upside. Unless there's some news coming on this name, probably going to be in trouble for a while. Look to pick this up at $1 and then trade the dollar play, right? That it'll try to hold $1 so it doesn't have to reverse split like AMC's doing, and then you'll have some action off that for fuel cell. I mean, wherever they report, I don't know, we'll have to double check on earnings. But again, FCell, pretty short float there, and we'll find out 156 is the area that would be
September 7th.
September 7th, so just after Labor Day, so we've got a couple more weeks.
Did you say short float?
I thought it was probably 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Is it?
16.7. 16.
I've never looked at that. 16%, so I was lucky. Short float for FCell. So. Yeah, so it's American, yeah. Exactly.
The only reason I'm saying that is yesterday there was a Chinese ADR. Well, there was an ADR, and I'm like, I have no idea what country it's from, and I didn't want to just say China because I speculated that it was. But it turns out on Trade Ideas, and Michael Noss emailed me right away. He's like, you realize you can just pull it up, and there's a flag on every single symbol.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I had pulled it up and was staring at the Chinese flag on whatever symbol it was yesterday, and managed to not notice it. But yeah, like FCell, I like those dollar plays, and with a 17% short float, there are worse shot plays that you can make.
There was that note. We just wanted to touch on that real quick. That was the note. It was, in fact, that Antera. So they went from 9% to 6 and change, dumping, better part of 15, 16, 17 million shares of AMC. So that's not nothing for sure. Let's talk about Nvidia here. We were wondering what was going to happen again this morning. Danielle Shea was on this show yesterday talking about the fact that, it's basically been this and not a lot else holding up the overall market. And then we get this, finally, a day to the downside here for Nvidia heading into their earnings after the close yesterday. And, you see the market, what's happening.
Yeah, well, tomorrow is the day of reckoning for this name. Tomorrow after the close, make sure to check that out. We know that there was a lot of orders last time. Jensen Huang told us of over $11 billion worth of orders. Number one, do they deliver on those orders? Are those orders actually factual? Number two, are they going to guide more? Or is it one-off event where everything was kind of front-loaded? So I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow.
It's amazing how, if you zoom out a little bit on this chart, yesterday was so huge. We're only back to the initial high out of the gate yesterday, guys.
It moves so much that really it skews everything. It skews your perception of these ranges. I wish we'd gotten to 450 today. It's pretty simple for me because 480. Let me just go to the 15-minute. And let's go to the daily chart. Yeah, 480 was the previous high on the daily. I'm like over that price, bullish, try the long, under that price. Wish I could tell you I reversed into the short. By the time this thing had calmed down, it was down underneath. It was down underneath 474, and I was actually thinking about yesterday's high. At least the only thing I can say is I didn't long it here because I did not look for the short because I thought, oh, it's probably going to bounce off yesterday's bottom, yesterday's close price, and I don't want to get trapped in it. No, it was all downside and all sell side. I went over to, at the time, when it started rolling over, I was like, yeah, let's go into Marvell because that's a sympathy play, gapped up on sympathy, sit in the short, look for it to break down. And eventually I had to give that one up because Marvell was relatively strong. It stopped me out when Nvidia was still weak. And then I just got away from it saying, okay, you know what, it's too strong. I will not reshort it at the same prices. And then that would have worked out absolutely fine. That's the kind of day it is sometimes. Like if I had just gone back into Marvell when you're making fresh lows, it would have worked out. But sometimes if you don't get away from the thing that's not working, it ends up burning you over and over again. So I decided to step away from it. Nvidia is going to be, it's going to be the flavor for the rest of this week, no question about it. But I think Marvell's a bit of a sleeper. If Nvidia really does tank and they sell it off big, I still think Marvell's going to have a sympathy push down if they don't have a big quarter as well. Because this has been an insanely volatile name on its earnings. So it is every bit as capable of pulling in a 15 to 20% move on earnings as Nvidia is, and they report the day after. So it's almost like the dust will be settling from Nvidia, and then the day of reckoning could come from Marvell as well. That's why I'm going to be looking at it every single day in addition to Nvidia.
Oh, there's a day of reckoning coming. That is for sure. Just quickly here, we'll try a Alibaba short now. I know we're breaking above VWAP, but we're also, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. We're also running into this right here at 50. So some tops there at 50, looking to see if there's any downside potential here on Alibaba, just against 50. I know we're above VWAP, so I'm going a little bit against the grain here for sure. Not a trade that I'm normally in, that we're above, but I just want to see, because it also coincides with yesterday's close as well. I mean, you got to give it a little bit more. If you really like the short, then you could give this up to 89 right there, but I don't. You know, into this afternoon, we said sometimes these names could be a little bit sleepy into the afternoon, so we'll check that. We do have a little bit of a reload on Microsoft right here at 50, but it's just hanging out. So, okay, now today, this morning, right, obviously Nvidia came out here. I was tweeting out, like, I don't feel like people are going to want to be caught offside into this report. But again, yesterday's move was $30 to the upside. Today's move is pretty much $30 to the downside. So it doesn't give it all back. Obviously, when it goes down from going up, you're going to have a little bit less of a percentage. Yesterday, we were up about 7% off those levels. And we did catch some back. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We caught some back on Nvidia right there. We caught a bottom right there at 457 as well. But eventually, all of these bids finally got squashed at 455, and that turns out to be pretty close to the bottom. The bottom here today of 453. We let it go. Like, if we had just held on to everything, obviously we would have made a little bit back, but it was really early on here where the mistake was made, I feel like, right there at 935. So we got out of the way when it dropped through 480. So someone said it would have been more prudent to get out of there and leave it alone. And I think that would have been, that's 100% right. It's this play right there that sort of screwed me, because I thought on the way back up, like, we flushed down, we were finding a base here at the pre-market levels of 475-ish. And then when that hit, and then it bounced back up, I was like, okay, 480, we'll take that. Then we can get, first of all, Microsoft just came out, which is fine. That was a high take there. Maybe the market is starting to rally back, and we'll look at that. But it was just that 480 take there, and then right there, that's what got us in trouble. That was 480 down there. Once it broke 475, that was really our whole day there on Nvidia. Everything else is just battling back. And then the problem is we don't have a short in here anywhere. That's really the problem. So whether or not now Nvidia can make it past this 460 area, that's still to be seen. We'll see if it can do that. But I really feel like it's that play right there early that was the mistake. Because after that, we started to get some good longs. The last trade, not great, but other than that, we had some good opportunities there in Nvidia. It's just being stubborn early on that name that wound up catching us. So, you know, not happy, obviously, about the way we traded it. But at the same time, you know, we've made bigger mistakes than that. So we'll wait to see if Nvidia can get back through 460. A little disappointing here. We're going to talk about this tonight. Maybe 460 is just a fade there on Nvidia. But for right now, I'll probably just leave this alone. I mean, the worst stock for me today, why go back to it when we just, you know, we're able to battle back here on Softy and make a positive trade from this. So now Microsoft's coming back to the upside. Watch out for VWAP break. But look at this market. Looking at 15,000 again right now. So there's 15,000 coming in as well. So we'll wait. Feel like we still want to short things, but maybe not at these prices exactly yet. Microsoft coming up to 424 could be interesting. Also some other big names there on the tech side, but we'll go over and talk about this as we begin into trade here in the afternoon. Let's go talk about some retailers.
Another major part of this move to the downside today has been these retailers getting crushed, led by this one. Macy's at session lows, actually just right now broke session lows. After they report, initial move was higher, the forecast a problem, margins a bit of a problem, but if I scroll down on this list, you can see. I'll find it, Sharif, save me here. It has been a pretty ugly day, though, for Macy's.
Yeah, we are seeing a market difference between retailers that sell discretionary items versus retailers. We're seeing a marked difference between retailers who sell discretionary items versus retailers who sell staples. We saw this perfectly embodied in the difference between Walmart's report and Target's report. Target sells far more discretionary items, and you're seeing that reflected again today. You're seeing Nike take it on the chin. You're seeing Macy's, Dick's Sporting Goods. All the ones that are not necessities seem to be really feeling the pain as the consumer pinches.
Yeah, kind of a strange chart here, but not sure why this is saying this is positive. But anyway, Kohl's also another one. This is Nike, but Kohl's also another one that was downside on heavy volume today. But right across the board, all of these, Nike included here, back to 101 right now.
Yeah, so I did take a couple of shots at the SSR bounce on Macy's. When Macy's opened up, it pretty much opened down that 10%. So if you look at the daily chart, you can kind of point out here about that 13 area was going to be a good level of support, or at least a theoretical level of support on Macy's. As it dropped, it needed to open up, breaking the pre-market low, which it did. Maybe go to the 3-minute chart and I can show you this a little bit better. So this is the initial move right at 9:30. It wicks underneath the bottom, so that's it's good to plan. If it can hold out above 13, it gets to 13.20, regains the pre-market low, enter into the long, stop underneath the local bottom, and then it goes to VWAP. I'm like, okay, that's all good. Does not break out VWAP, trail out at break even. I then make one more trade. It bounces off 13. I try the long as it's bouncing off 13, and it breaks down right here underneath 13 bucks. And I just get out. Obviously, you can go short, and that's great. But the SSR bounce has been a good play. Maybe I should have, the mistake, if any, I think would have been, if I'm going to just blindly stop out here, I could have at least reloaded on that bounce play right there. That would have made a little bit of sense. Or once it got under 13 bucks, maybe at that point it was worthy of a short. I never traded Dick's. It just never really had a setup that I was into because the real bounce came right away at 110. And 105, I was looking for 105 for a bounce on Dick's Sporting Goods, and it happened to bounce at 110, so I wasn't really looking for that level. That one did go to VWAP. This would have been the better SSR play. Sometimes you just go with the one that, I don't know, sometimes maybe you pick the one that's more depressed, that's also a quality name, and maybe that was Dick's Sporting Goods today. Macy's had a good initial bounce, but certainly could have been played a little bit better. I don't see trades in either one of these this afternoon. But yeah, the SSR bounce gives you that binary shot where a lot of times you're getting like 3, 4, 5 to 1, and that's the reason you put on the trade, even though it's going to be counter trend. And it gives you kind of an obvious out, which I don't really mind at all. Like, that's the thing. You want to be able to sort of get in and get out if you're doing a counter trend trade and not have to worry about, oh, what's the discretionary part of this? Like, when am I averaging it? No, you just kind of take your one long, put your stop in, put your target out there, and then go from that. But ugly day for these retailers. Fundamentally, I'm sure there will be a bounce, but this one needs to calm itself down. You look at where this event eventually got to here. I mean, you broke everything today, and then got right back into levels from last year on Dick's Sporting Goods. It probably needs to simmer for at least a couple of days before you think about what to do next with this, because 24% down and 15% down for Macy's. It's just, that's nuts, right? So you've got to calm down for a couple of days, and if it makes a bottom, maybe there is a dip buy in here.
All right. I feel like there's only a couple names you really want to trade or be in when you're into retail. I mean, obviously, I think trading off earnings days is very important. So Dick's, Macy's, Toll Brothers is obviously not that. I was thinking about who's reporting tonight. Home Depot's reported, Target's reported, Walmart's reported. And the one name I wanted to go over quickly was going to be Walmart. Walmart today did make some, how many bottoms right here at 156.30? So
damn.
It's just over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, it just kept on coming through. So I feel like there is a good possibility there to buy some of these dips at 156, man. I mean, Walmart's been a good name. Report not great. Here's the sort of the flush down into some of these levels. And I just feel like you are going to support, it seems like anyways, that we're supporting this 154 area. So I like Walmart. I mean, we talked about this a little bit there about, I don't know, all these kids and all that kind of stuff just like running into big time like luxury stores and just robbing them blind and then running out of there. Like, I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if they're ever going to get, obviously they're going to get some control on that at some point. But I just think that, going into a CVS or going into like a Walgreens or something like that to buy things now, it just seems ridiculous. You got to wait for people to open up the security locker or whatever to get out the razors or get out whatever you're trying to buy. Why not just open up the app, put through on Amazon, get a price that you know is going to be stellar and get it delivered to your door so you don't have to worry about heading into any of these stores and being depressed when you see stuff like that. I don't know. For me, I'm kind of a little bit, no, I don't want to say the word perturbed because I don't even know what that means, but just a little bit like not happy about yeah, I know it's a word, but about some of the state, the ongoing here, the state of retail. So I don't really like them for investments, man. I think it's pretty ugly, and I would like to stay away from all these names. So I think Amazon, Walmart, possibly, and then of course a name that I don't know if they're ever going to have issues like that with pilferage or anything like that in Costco, but this is a name that, again, look at this being hit right back down to the 50 period again. So I'd say look out for Costco, possibly getting into a buy zone as well here. What did I say, or what did you say here?
No, perturbed is like that's.
Oh, perturbed.
It's literally it is precisely what you were getting at, right? Like feeling anxiety or concern, unsettled would be. So that's exactly, I think, what you were trying to get at. So I was showing you me reading it. Like I don't memorize. And I'm not the professor here. I Googled it just to make sure I got the definition right. Like I'm not I'm not trying to make you think that I can just rhyme off some nonsense off the top of my head, because I am not a human thesaurus. That is certainly the man at the desk there, the professor. But the other man at the desk, or at least a fake version of him, has something for you to hear.
A rundown brought to you by Trade Ideas, real-time scanning and alerting used on the desk by everyone you see on the show. See what's moving in the moment. Check out the QR code, bottom right corner of the screen, guys. Take advantage of this if you haven't. Great deal, 20% off. Trader TV 20. Shout out to our friends over at Trade Ideas.
Said friend of Trade Ideas is going to be coming through this week. So I look forward to seeing the NOS boss. We always call him the NOS boss. Michael NOS will be coming through this week. Just a couple of updates here. So I'm going to show you lower highs, and whenever there's lower highs on something, you need to be taking profit if you're long. So I've been scalping U.S. Steel. It's not a true buyout because they haven't accepted any of these bids, let's be real. But I'm only going long because there are like 2 bids and then like maybe a third. But it's now rejecting VWAP. It used to be when you buy off of, I'm going to show you the reason I like this level. So yesterday it was breakout off this resistance and then go long in front of that. Today was breakout here and then go into the previous dip price. So once it got down to the 3180 level, like that's the buy zone. I've been buying the dips out in front of it, but as I said, it's been trending down. So you got to take profit on the way up. If it can break VWAP, I'm just going to get all out and be flat if it breaks VWAP. I know yesterday it continued to run and that was a mistake getting out. Today just feels a hell of a lot different. And then to keep in mind of one thing, because remember 15,000? Well, the market remembers 15,000 and we're still rejecting it on the NASDAQ. So we just wicked up again 15,000. We cannot get away from this level. If we do not break above that, I think that's the reload spot for anything short. I am in the short for the market. That is Meta. At some point, you've got to join the trend. So it was pretty obvious that Meta, the market was downtrending. Everyone can see that. Once Meta was under yesterday's close at 290, and then for good, it rejected that. Like once you're rejecting that price, okay, let's just go short underneath here. VWAP happens to be 290. It's condensing a little bit, so it's like a 50 cent to 70 cent range that it's putting in off the 89 down into like 288.30 or so. So that's where the reloads have been, off the 89, initially off the 90 level. The trend is your friend. If we don't break 15,000, then levels like this, or stocks like this that are trending down in big tech, that's where you want to be. And it gives you an out. If we break 15K, I'll probably already be stopped out at the local high, and we can start looking for some longs. If you're looking for a long, I feel like it's got to be Apple, because that's, at one point, Google was stronger than Apple. Now it's reversed by about like 0.15% or something.
Oh, Apple's stronger now?
Yeah, Apple's up 0.8, Google's up 0.64. So most of the morning, Google was actually leading the way. I had a long in Google. It stopped out break even. It was actually a good long, but then like everything else, the market just started to come down. But now a 0.65 Google to Apple, which, okay, I got a bad wick in there, but I can zoom it in for you. It's up 0.8%. Now, it doesn't seem stronger. I've had a couple of longs in here off the 177 level. That the first breakout was actually pretty decent, got to the $0.50, but now you're starting to already come back in. If we get above 15,000, Apple is taking out this high at 177.40. It's a random price, but that just happens to be the high of the day. But until that happens, you just rinse and repeat. the shorts or whatever it happens to be that you're shorting. It's just, short the pops has been working pretty much all afternoon. Just pick a relatively weak big cap name and short the pops for now.
Yeah, I mean those are the trades I've been giving you guys right now as we go. So we're in this Microsoft trade, short there. Look at this Alibaba trade right now. It's trying to cash out just a little bit, so we'll hit the money sign for this because here it goes. Coming right back in here is Alibaba. So we shorted that. We talked about sort of the risk to reward here. Our out was 50. We're short at 37. So we're just in the 1-to-1 right now. So let's take a little bit more out here at 25. See if we can get it out. We're only out at 10% so far, so it's absolutely nothing. I don't know. We went back to the 50 period. If we can get back down into here to 88 and change, like low 88, something like that, I think that's pretty good. That's the 200 period moving average. And again, it's made the nice move up. I'd hate for this to rally back now because if that's the case right now. But that's okay. That's coming hopefully back in and we can get filled up on that. ASAP, I'm bidding 25s and I'm bidding some 22s. So we'll see if we get that out and into the blotter as well pretty soon. Thanks, Dan Emmons. Yeah, 14,997. So I had it marked right here. Oh no, right here, 14,990 or so. But that's it right there. No, actually, this is it right here. 14,990, 14,996. Yeah. So that's what we had marked right there. I don't know what's up with this mark right there. I'm going to get rid of that. But yeah, we had that already. So we're going to wait to see what the bottom low is here into the initial balance low, of course, right there. And then the high I have is 15,080, something like that, Dan. Okay, so we'll just have a look at all of that. Nvidia kind of flushing a little bit right now, off 460. That's really it's honestly just a shame because that was, again, another level. I'm learning a lot here every single day, and it's just like I said to you guys, I'm a little bit depressed about it because, that's 934, and I say don't trade earnings right away, and obviously Nvidia's trading like it's earnings the last couple of days, right? Yesterday up 8%, today squashed down again, down $25. Yesterday up $30. You don't need to take this trade. And then now I'm a little bit gun shy on it because I don't want to go back to a name that I've been losing on. And then right there, I mean, we even talked about this. I was like, 460 is probably, a good short. Just rewind this about 10 minutes. Do I take it? No. And then there's the flush $3. So, that's kind of depressing a little bit there. But again, we went back to the name that we've been really, oh yeah, buddy. So this is what we talk about. Sometimes sometimes we are actually accurate with our analysis, and that was go right back into a spot that you've been successful in before. And there it is right there. We got stopped out for profit, actually, right there at 323.65. Not for profit on those last two reloads, but then we put on a decent position again on Microsoft, right at that same level that we hit before, 324. And now you can see this is finally dropping down 50 cents in the money. And this is the kind of R to R that I'm talking about because, to get stopped out when you're short at 80 and your stop's going to be 324 and then it drops down 50 cents, pretty good trade there for us. The only thing is Alibaba is doing the opposite. So I would have thought on NASDAQ flush, Alibaba would have had a chance to flush. So instantly radar's up about Alibaba now, maybe stronger than we thought, especially on what is Baidu day here coming through. So yeah, see Baidu again.
Baidu popped a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So Baidu holding the bid as well. So maybe a mistake by shorting this name, but we can get out of it. Hey, it's a profitable trade. We can just get out.
Yeah, D's, what are you trading? I see Square. Look, I see a couple people talking about Block, Square, whatever you want to call it. There's a few names that are, obviously there's a lot of names that are taking it on the chin today. So I don't think there's nothing special about this going to the downside.
Hi, Fabian.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. But
I was just saying hi to him, of course, not to get him to switch the channel.
No, it's all good. I actually didn't even realize I was on.
Yeah,
Square, Block, Square, it doesn't matter. This is getting right back to where it bounced on the daily. It's at 55. You can see it on the daily. It's kind of a big deal. There is a lot of room for you to get back down there. It feels like an obvious place where there could be some support. But when you've got this big of a gap where you get to the support level, 56 was yesterday's low. To me, this feels like join the party, short this on the next pop. If you can get it 56, stop it out there, 56.22. I mean, I don't want to. I hate putting even dollar numbers. So that's why I'd probably put a 22 stop on it. But yeah, they just like to short in this one underneath that gap, and there's room down to 55. Worry about the fact that it might bounce off 55 when you get to it. If we're under 15,000, which we still are, despite the fact that Jim Cramer just tweeted about a possible 245 patented rally. So short until we break 15,000. And I don't know. And this is a name that sets up. So thank you guys for pointing this out. I haven't even looked at Square today, but I like flat bottom breaks. It already did one. And if it consolidates off that same low and you can get a short in front of 56, the setup is definitely right there for you. So I'm going to try and take it if we get any kind of a bounce here. I want to get back over to Meta. I'm just going to rinse and repeat. If we get back up to the 89, short it again, we're going to break, well, if we break the lows of the day, hold through the low and look for the next level to get into the short as we go to our guest of the day. Let's go to the desk with Brendan and Frank Caberna.
An important day as well as we head towards the main event on the economic calendar this week, or a two-day event, I guess you could say. Frank, good to see you as always. The Jackson Hole Symposium is what I'm speaking of, if anyone's wondering. I know a lot of people wonder from time to time. There's an important date, obviously, if you go back to this time last year when Fed Chair Powell took to the microphone at the Jackson Hole Symposium. That was when equities started or kicked off that last leg to the downside that we saw in the market last year, going into September as well. And we've talked in depth of late on the seasonality of the overall market. Meanwhile, we are seeing a little bit of a pullback today, finally, on the longer-term rates. The 10-year back below 4.33. I just noticed 4.32 right now, still around highs, but a little bit of a pullback. First off, let's touch on what is to come with this Jackson Hole Symposium. Tell us what on earth this is and why it matters.
Yeah, I do want to start off by first just talking about what this thing is, because I mean, honestly, I've traded around this event for a number of years now, and I still don't know necessarily what it is. But it is essentially a symposium or a conference, a meeting place, annual meeting for central bankers across the globe to get together and talk about whatever it is central bankers talk about. The theme for this year is structural shifts in the global economy. So it'll be a classic case of Fed Chair Powell going to the mic on Friday morning, Brendan, and wanting to talk about, how everybody met and they covered these themes and everything else. And then he'll quickly have to turn to the U.S. economy and things that people actually find relevant. But within this theme, there are a lot of things that can be touched on that will shake, Forex markets, interest rate markets, and as you know, both of those markets very intermingled with stocks these days. And one of the first pieces, or at least one of the developing stories that is exceedingly a global economy story, is the difference in interest rates between Japan and the US and the devaluation of the Japanese yen relative to the US dollar. US dollar's on a tear, and that's been coinciding with stock downside as the US dollar continues to be a little bit of a fear gauge here. And it's not only Japan, it's also China. You and I have talked about this a little bit. The crazy divergence between U.S. and Chinese stocks, and also Chinese interest rates, continuing to be moved lower and lower to try to stoke anything from that Chinese economy that's been seeing similarly bad numbers to Japan. If any of this stuff doesn't say, structural shifts in the global economy, I don't know what does, but it'll be really interesting to see what Fed Chair Powell has to say on those pieces, because I'm sure you remember back in 2015 when China was seeing some risk-off action. Fed Chair Powell, or not Fed Chair Powell at the time, but the Federal Reserve inserted some geopolitical risk into their rhetoric, and that sent U.S. stocks lower and interest rate markets in the U.S. going crazy as well. So any commentary he has on China, Japan, and their rough economic numbers, I think will move U.S. markets for sure.
And just to touch on the format here, as you mentioned, we'll get a statement essentially of, as you said, here's what happened, here's what we talked about, here's what is going to happen. Correct me if I'm wrong. There will also be a Q&A portion to this when he speaks on Friday.
Yeah, I believe he'll open it up for questions after the speech there, which can go a number of different ways. I mean, of course, the first thing that people are going to want to know about is where are interest rates headed? Because, yeah, not only is the global economy shifting between Japan, China, and all these places relative to the U.S., but U.S. interest rates, as you tipped off, the 10-year is moving a little bit lower today, but is at those highs. And the 2-year also is starting to see some upside as well. You and I have talked so much about the yield curve inversion, and the story of the last couple of weeks has been longer term rates finally climbing a little bit out of that 3 to 4% range to get above 4.25% for the first time since 2008. Well, now short-term rates are starting to climb again as the 2-year is moving towards those highs that we haven't seen since not just 2008. The 2-year is seeing the 10 years rally and raising it highs since 2000 here, Brendan, as we get above 5% in that 2-year. And obviously, this has a lot to do with where people think Fed Chair Powell will move short-term rates. And people might get sick of us mentioning this tool because it's unbelievable that we're still about 30 days out from the next FOMC. But I have to bring it up again because the odds continue to shift, and we're now up to 42% chance of another rate hike by the end of the year. The odds of that rate hike occurring at the next meeting, that's about 30 days out, is less likely than 42%, but those odds have gone from below 10% to about 15, close to 20% now. So interest rates continue to move higher. Projections for what Fed Chair Powell will do by the end of the year continue to lean closer to interest rate hikes. And all of this stuff is moving synergetically with the stock market, as I think stock traders, again, were very comfortable with 4 to 5% interest rates. You see the outside chance there at the furthest right part of the graphic. Now a 5% chance that we get to 6% by the end of the year. Yes, that's low odds, but I mean, if that inflates the way that you've seen the one interest rate hike to get us above 5.5% has over the course of the last month, that might be a relatively realistic outcome in the next month of action. And I think 6% will be a lot harder for the stock market to swallow than they thought we were going to be at, which was 4 or 5% and cutting, and not looking like the case. So I'm sure Fed Chair Powell will either talk to this or will be questioned on this immediately, probably under the lens of inflation.
I think 2 important points to make here. If we go back to that chart that was showing even the 2-year getting back towards the highs. Yeah, this chart is the one I was talking about. This 10-year period, and we touched on this the last time you were on, both the 2 and the 10-year spent significant time above 4%, going back to the middle of the 90s and then into the early 2000s. So it's not as if that wasn't the old normal when it comes to the floor, that 4% area being the floor and the base for interest rates during that period. So it's not like this is an unprecedented event that we've never seen before. The other being the last CPI print that we got, indicating the fact that not only were we due for a bounce, we got a bounce in inflation back to the upside for not only the U.S. but multiple countries around the world, and expecting that to continue. So we're getting these comments from Fed Chair Powell at a time when all of these things are happening at the same time, indicating that it could be a mixed response or really an unknown response from Fed Chair Powell when he does, inevitably get asked that question.
Yeah, and that's what makes this type of event so, high ceiling, low floor, which is it can be absolutely nothing. There are years when it is absolutely nothing, but there are years where the right things line up, the right things are going on in the market. And right now we're seeing a ton of inflection points across interest rates, across Forex, and the equity market feels like it's teetering a little bit. And so I think these markets are a little bit spring loaded for anything to come out of Fed Chair Powell. Because, yeah, I mean, if you take us back to the 80s and 90s, why was 4% the floor and interest rates were so much higher? Is because we saw inflation kick in the late 70s, and it stuck around until the early 80s there. And where are we right now? Well, we saw inflation kick in 2022, and now the question is it going to bounce back and stick around for 23 and 24 and 25? And will 4% become the new floor like it was in the 80s and 90s? Or are we going to be poised for more of this action that we've seen post 2000, which is 4% is really the upside for interest rates? Fed Chair Powell and the central bank here and globally, they've got inflation where they want it. And I mean, people get up for these events because this guy has the most information out of anybody on the planet when it comes to inflation here. So anything that he says, any change in cadence to like, oh yeah, inflation is sticky and we're worried about it bouncing back, I think would send interest rate markets higher and send stocks into an even greater risk off mode. But on the flip side, Brendan, you've seen this plenty of times where there's a string of comments or a couple of rate hikes, and then one comment comes out that like, yeah, inflation bounced back a little bit last month and core inflation is sticky, but we feel like we've got it decently under control. And I think you'd see the flip side of that. Interest rates move lower and stocks really bounce back and get into a more of a risk on trade. I mean, isn't that classic Fed where it's like a couple of bearish or hawkish ideas and then boom, out of nowhere, one bullish or dovish one?
And that was, the exact reverse of what we saw last year when this very event, as I mentioned, to start this, kicked off that last round of selling. Just quickly, just to wrap up, 24th, 25th, 26th, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as you mentioned, Fed Chair Powell coming Friday morning. Is there anything we should be looking at or monitoring to come on Thursday then?
I think there's supposed to be a couple of central bankers from maybe the Eurozone or other global entities. It is really all U.S. at this point. There was a little bit of in March, April, and May, Brennan, you'd remember, I'd come on and I'd be like, man, like UK inflation, that seems to be driving a lot of different markets. It feels like it's all US right now. So for the time being, we'll get some, organic price action. I'm sure you guys are talking about how Nvidia price action is driving everything haywire recently. Oh, no, not at all. Getting ready for the earnings that's coming up. But then Friday, I think, will be the main event here. I think everybody globally looking at Fed Chair Powell for guidance.
And just to remind everyone, coming up then just after that, we have to wait until the 13th when we get that next CPI print, which is then followed a week later by, I believe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, typically anyway, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, the next Fed meeting. So not a lot of time between what's going to happen Friday morning and then the next CPI print and the Fed meeting. So great stuff. Frank Caberno, Director of Strategy over at IG.com in Chicago. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Brendan.
As always, to you, Frank. And the market it's trying a little bit to maybe bounce. I don't know, like this NASDAQ. Frank comes on and sometimes he rallies the market, but this is one of those days where it feels like it's almost no chance. But there was a mini bounce just off some of those lows there. If we get to 15,000, that's a pretty big line in the sand. I'm looking for reload spots on lower highs. It hasn't really established itself yet. We just took out the bottom on Meta. So I'm looking for a consolidation that can confirm the lower high. And if that's the case, then look for a short off of that level. And never got the chance on Square, Block, whatever you want to call it. But it is coming back into the 56 on this little bit of a bounce in the market. So I'm looking to short this bounce. On Block, I was showing you the 15-minute chart. Just if you weren't tuning in, that's from the 15-minute underneath yesterday's low, underneath the previous low, which was right about 12 a.m. And then I want to short that into 56, give it to like 56.20 or so. So this little pop-up could be a nice entry point for a few shorts. So you just need to come in and give the fills. Looking for Block here. Don't really have anything else that isn't Meta or Block that I particularly like. I am looking at Marvell again, but That's the one that got away. But it is a nice trend to the downside all over the place wherever you happen to look. More or less everywhere except for Apple, I will say.
Yeah, poor Apple. All right, so while you were gone, guys, I mean, we were starting to ring some kind of register, so let's go bang. Well, let's go bang, bang, and then we'll do this because the market is red, and that's what that is for right now. But we just took 80 cents on Microsoft. I mean, we got a bunch of covers down here at O's, some even lower than O's, not much lower, but right into there. We'll see if it can start to break even lower right now. The market is making that jaunt back up to 15,000, so that's why we did get out of the majority of the shares, but I think we still about 35% left here of this name, so we'll see if it can come out. And then we got what we wanted here. I mean, Alibaba did come down. I was posting during the talk there. It's always nice when the smartest guy in the room isn't in the room, so shout out to Frank Caberna. He's not here. But what a great bunch of insights there about Jackson Hole. It's even funny when he's like says he's studied it for so long and still doesn't even really understand what's going on with it. So that's where you know the market will be a little tipsy-turvy there. But yeah, Baba did come in and we did take some out. We're out of more than half of this name right now. So we'll wait to see on what Alibaba has to do with itself. Nvidia is still bouncing around 460, so we can have a quick look at that. Not much happening over there. I do think that we could buy some Tesla. It's just, you know, I'm in the camp right now. This is Nvidia, of course. I'm in the camp right now of shorting until we break above at least 15,000. Like that VWAP is 15,010 right now. So I still feel like we want to short here. I mean, the short on that pop and the short again on that pop. And again, you're going to come into 15,000. That's 15,000 right here. That's another level that I would say we'd want to short against. You know, if you're wrong, then you can give it up to 15.10. I think 10 handles worth of room is probably reasonable on that one. So if you were looking to short the market, I think that's something that looks good to me right there. I would stay away from Nvidia, but it is coming right up again to this 460 area again. Last time I was up here, we didn't do anything about it, and it tanked down $4. So yeah, I mean, even if you put on 100 shares, like something like that. I mean, I wish we only had that much before, but right there, 459 maybe coming into play right there. And then where are you going to get it out? I mean, worth $1 upside, you know, 461 and change up into there. But anyways, it's above the 200, it's above the 50, it's above the sloping 21 period. So I'm actually probably thinking about a long there, but I'm still short everything else. So that's something to look at there. Oh, Palantir, let's have a quick look at that. Yeah, so it didn't quite get back to 15. I mean, it did throughout the day as we got stopped out there, but we had already made some money on Palantir and we didn't average back in. So that was the saving grace on that tick, because if we had another fill right there and then got stopped out, then it would have been disastrous. But look where it went right back to. Right back to where we got fills. I mean, I'm happy that we have a 13 in our account. At least that's the high of the day, but it came back into 10 again before tanking into 1460 or so. I like these longs down here for Palantir. I'm almost feeling like a good little position would be 1475, 1478 or so into this area where the 200 period is on Palantir. Kind of like that for a long, so that would be something to take in consideration there, I feel like, on PLTR. Other than that, if you have any names, I'll look in the chat over the next little while and see if we can find something that might be on my radar as well.
So yeah, I mean, outside of, I just got into Square. I'm looking for, I was actually just checking the scanner to see if there was any like not low float, but like squeeze names, small caps, something running to the upside that could be giving a breakout trade or something for power hour in here. It's been one of those days where not even any of those are continuing to go. Like I said, VFS is now going sideways off the 40 level. So again, into Square, if it gets to the low of the day, I think you take profit in front of the low of the day because that is going to be the trend. And there was a question in the chat. Oh, it wasn't a question, it was a comment. Thank you, this chart's actually gonna load. My Apple chart's now a complete mess when I pull up my 3-minute, but I can show you VFS. I was reiterating, on VFS, and this is very different from when Nikola made a similar move. Like Nikola had a pattern, I wanna say it was 3 months ago, it was exactly the same thing. I like 3 levels for the short, I took 1, 2, and 3. But when Nikola did the last parabolic move and made a wick high like this, it pretty much dropped right away. Like once it started working, it kept working and got to VWAP and broke VWAP within, I'd say, 15 or 20 minutes. And so when it didn't happen, like there's your stair step down and there's the big break. That's where it went $5 and I was still holding 2/3 of the position at this point and it bounced. And when that happened, I gave up the notion that that one trade was going to be the one that was going to break VWAP and then make everything back and trailed it out here at 38. Because it should have gone down. It's like you're looking for it to go down, you're looking for it to go into a halt down, or just capitulate to the downside. It never happened. And when that didn't happen on this move, and it was immediately bought back up above the last breakout price, I trailed it. I'm still holding on to a small piece of it because it never actually ran my stop up here at the 40 half level. So I'll give that chance, but I'm now actually bidding in front of that because it's holding up way too long here. So again, and I wish I could pull back my 15-minute to show you on Nikola. The best I could do is I can show you the day that it happened. I'd have to just draw back the chart like over and over and over again to this day right in here. Nikola had broken $1. And then the following day, it followed through. It got up to 180. This was the next key level up after the dollar break was this little jaunt into 180, and it was a short off the top. It worked almost right away. Like you got in through stop at high of day, and then it basically tanked 20 cents, consolidated, tanked another 20 cents, and that was it. So very different story as to what's happening. And the way I look at it, if that's what you're looking for, you want that capitulation, that kind of halt down. If it turns out that was the top, and we get to like $30, then I will have given up my chance on VFS by saying it was too strong and I didn't want to have to fight it anymore. Just one more thing for you here. Meta is making that bounce to the, okay, fine. There we go, bounce to the upside. In the view up to a little frustrating. Sorry guys, my chart's doing this thing where now when I flip, I'm losing data, but you can see I still like that 89. I got a reload, got some out at 88 half. Let me try and show you my black chart. There you go. So it is coming right back into the reload zone. I'm going to try and take some at that 289. I'll just show you guys this chart because when I flip back and forth, I'm missing data, but I can always show you the clean chart that I have up the whole time. So if we get the 89, I want to reload over there in Meta. I am taking profit finally on US Steel. Even the best long for me has been an absolute battle on US Steel. It's back into VWAP, so I'm now down to like 20% of the position. If it pops VWAP, I'm just going to get all flat. This is obviously going to be one of the few things that held up, but it has a fundamental reason not to flush because there's people bidding on this company. It has a bidding war going on. So decent level. I'm going to be back probably at this level again. Just look at yesterday in the aftermarket and where it broke out from in the afternoon. So at 2 o'clock, when we started the show, this was breaking out this level. It showed support in the aftermarket at that level. That's the level to go long on US Steel. And it's been just essentially printing it to you if you've been willing to scalp it. So another good trade here on that, but it needs to hold VWAP. Downward trending stock, despite the fact that the long's able to work. I just never short anything in a bidding war.
Yeah, I don't want to be short anything right now, I don't think. I mean, the market's trying to go back up to the upside here and try to test, well, not trying to, is testing 15,000 as we speak. So you are right at this level again right now. The one thing that we had at least right on this list here, Apple long 176. I mean, that was a genius one right there today. Apple just took out the day's high. So Apple right now is much stronger than the market. There it goes, man. Up one, I thought it was...
It is.
Oh, Apple. Oh, sorry. It's up $1.06. It's up $1.67. Therefore, up 1%. Okay. Yeah. On my e-signal chart, I have to change that. I have dollar amounts up, not percentage amounts up. So that's a nightmare. Okay. So we'll wait out to see what happens here with Apple as it's just taking out the high right now. We'll see where it goes from here. But so far, so good on Apple, trying to take out some of these highs. Nice little long there for sure. All right. So Microsoft. We just took another piece out. It ripped up, came back in. We're going to have to watch out for that trade. I said I'd look to see if there's anybody that wants to talk about anything in the chat here. And I don't really see anybody that mentioned anything. If you do have anything, and what's up with Compass SRX, it's up to D's Ponzi's here as well today. So if anybody has anything they want to look at right now, CCL, okay, we can definitely look at that coming through today. What's up to J Tesla? Yeah, I mean, I really like Tesla. We can see if that can go right now. Boot, is that even a stock? What's up to Emily G? As well as we can keep going. Yo, what's up, Unholy Grail? You want to find the Holy Grail and then the Unholy Grail, I think. But the Holy Grail is not Microsoft today, but there's going to be other stocks here for us to look at, obviously, as we continue. All right, so that's Microsoft. One name I saw in there that we'd like to trade often is CCL. Now, The travel names have pulled back, right? I mean, that's for sure. A great double top or triple top at 1950 there. Now pulling back under the 50 period moving average. And again, as the consumer, we keep on hearing all about the consumer, right? Maybe possibly in a little bit of trouble. Credit card debt's a little bit out of control as they're at highs, but that's never really affected anybody. And I still steal a line from Jim Cramer here. People are long on money and short on time. Ever since we had this little COVID mishap, you know, people are starting to travel more, realizing that, yeah, maybe time isn't on their side. I think it's probably fine. But again, you know, that's probably a little bit of this pullback. We've heard about names that have been drawn in because of possible new variant coming through. We saw mRNA going a little nuts over the last couple of days as well. I know they had some other news specific, not COVID related.
I think the difference with them is they had a cancer thing go for them as well.
Yeah, that's a little different for them, obviously. But yeah, I think this is a decent bottom rate here on CCL, man. 1540. This looks great. I mean, anybody that asked me about that, that's, again, if you're just going to play off support and resistance, then this would be the right name for you right now. So I like this right there, 1540 as a bottom there.
There was just a volume spike in that, but I didn't see any.
CCL?
Actually, no, it was a breakout without a volume spike. It just made that move up. But
I wonder about just going long on Apple.
I just trailed out, and I have to answer this question too. Ottawa is wonderful. Ottawa is wonderful. Driving in the downtown, Ottawa is the capital of Canada, by the way. But driving in the downtown can be a bit of a mess. If you're not into one-way streets, then it's probably not for you. But like I shorted SOS yesterday around 9. Oh, you were talking about, here we go. Talking about your short for FES, I found sometimes this kind of position has to be held overnight to break down. We are day traders and have to only get trade during the day. I actually think that, like, that kind of a risk, I don't like it because the overnight, there's no stops in the aftermarket, and when you're going against the grain, to me, everything is about a hard stop. It's one thing if you buy puts in something and you can limit your loss when you're holding shorts over a time period, but when you're doing an equity short, just check out a chart of HKD and understand why hedge funds do that overnight, and for most traders, you just don't want to be able to do it. But while we're talking about that, it just made another, so again, you have a wick top, doesn't run the stop. This is where it should break down theoretically. It goes right back into support, goes right to that same 38 level where I trailed it up before, and I just trailed it again. It's like, get very binary. So at this point, like, I'll give up the ghost that it can get me everything back. And when I do look back on it, so I lose like a 1x this to like what I can make on a US Steel or when a stock goes well. But at the end of the day, this one is probably one trade that shouldn't have happened, and that was this one here underneath the 40. It's kind of difficult to see, but I was able to get the failed break of the halt and then in short at the halt price. But the one trade in here, you can see it's like it got underneath 40 and I decided to add to the position. So oftentimes, like, get it in good. It gets greed that makes you add to the position. Now, ultimately, if it works, you're absolutely laughing, and eventually it did get down to that 38, but you don't necessarily always want to be adding to it on the way down. Sometimes the structure of your trade is the structure of your trade. It's an entry off the halt price with the stop at the local top, right? And sometimes that's all you want to do, and then you get cute when you try to do a little bit more, like double up when it's going in your favor. Sometimes the trade is a trade. And for me, after the breakdown through the halt price setup is a specific setup. You get in there and you get in only there. So I did add that one time. That's where the mistake is. Every other time I'm stopping that sucker out, and I'm never holding these overnight. If I could, I still wouldn't do it because HKD it needs to be shown. Let me just show you guys the HKD chart. For anybody that's never seen what it looks like when a low float doesn't stop, just look at this chart. I mean, it's not even going to pull. There we go. Thank you. It finally pulled back to the $2,500 move. Now, everybody knew HKD was coming back in. Of course it was coming back in. And VinFast is going to come back in. But holding overnight for the continuation, I mean, good luck with that. There were probably at least 3 or 4 days where everyone was believing that, and it went to 2,500. So you can take shots around key levels where there's actual liquidity as long as you have a hard stop and you can limit your losses and your downside. But holding overnight is a vastly different story on these because there's just no liquidity.
All right, it's funny that you're just talking about VFS. I do want to talk about that in the after show here today. New I don't mind this. The red one was yesterday. This one, a little different with blue back here. Toll Brothers and Urban Outfitters. So we're going to be looking at that one right now. Yeah, too big of a face right there. Hey, Ramin, make my teeth white, man. I don't smoke or anything like that. What's going on? We do drink coffee, of course. But this is what I want to talk about with VFS here. So we'll talk about this tonight, and I'll give you my opinion on it, although I think you probably know what my opinion is here when dealing with a name like this. All right, so last week a Vietnamese company went public via SPAC. The company is now worth over $108 billion. The company has sold around 1,000 vehicles, and I didn't know this. They recalled all of them?
No,
Not bad.
I didn't know that either.
I don't know that either, but I don't know if it's fact. I put up here that I wasn't sure if that was a fact. But this is the funny thing. It is currently worth more than Mercedes. I mean, we've never heard of that company. They don't produce any cars. BMW, Ford, and Rivian. So right now, VFS worth more than all of that. Head over to Twitter and let me know what you think about it right now. Some people commenting on it, so go over and have a quick look. But I don't know, man. I don't. Obviously, with VFS running the way it is, it's not worth anything like that. The reason why I keep on posting stuff like that is because, honestly, it's like, I just don't want, and I think that's what Neil's talking about too when he's saying about, you know, holding overnight and things like that. It's not worth getting burned on a stock like that. If you're going to trade it, understand the amount of risk that's associated with the VFS. I already called $10 on that name, and it did go right back into it and then back up to $40. So why don't I have 4x to win? Because I don't trade like that. And I think that if you do, then you would know the risks. So just please associate whatever risks you need to with that, and just be safe with it. That is VFS. I mean,
hedgies can hold it forever. Like a hedge fund has
a hedge fund?
Yeah, hedge funds can short stuff like that because
boot.
because they know it can go up like 10x and 100x, and they have the money to be able to not get screwed on something like that, and that's why they're able to. They know it's going down, so they can just short all the way up. It's very different for the rest of us. Was that really a thing?
Yeah, no, boot is a stock because we got a tip here, a tip.
Oh, okay.
We got a super chat from Nicole Harris. Shout out to Nicole Harris. What's up, Nicole? Again, thank you for continuing to support the show all the time. So shout out to Nicole Harris. Okay, 95 call boots. Is there, you know what? I don't have my trade ideas loaded up here because I was loading it up for the closing show.
I got it.
I should probably do it. Maybe there's earnings coming up on boots. I don't know. I'll have to find out if that's the case. But
They already
reported. So can you look at boot? 95 call options going crazy. So I would assume that it's a really nice move here into that. AMC split tomorrow. I thought it was Thursday. Is it tomorrow, the AMC split? Okay, what happens to options? LFGT, NVAX, Thursday, I thought so. NVAX and AMC. So yeah, AMC is Thursday. What happens to options? I thought they just got repriced. So I think that's what happens to options, but that's another thing to talk to your broker. We don't talk about options enough on the show, so honestly, I don't study them as much as I probably should if I was all over that, but I just think your options get repriced. They go 10 to 1, so whatever that math is, that's just what happens. That's my understanding.
That's my understanding too, but I've never done anything with options other than sell covered calls a couple times on stocks that I own.
Yeah, and I guess if you sold, but that, yeah, see, so I think it would all just have to be repriced, right? Because otherwise they'd have to stop trading on those options.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
But yeah, definitely. Because it's Thursday, Nicole, I would say contact your broker ASAP, because if you do have any questions about those and you do have some large capital invested, I mean, people on our chat should be able to answer that. So I'm going to put out an alert to everybody in our awesome chat to be able to help that out, because there's definitely people here that trade options, definitely. Yeah, so I just want to go, I'll just give you a quick little news about boot here. 90 there. Did Brendan get back to us about anything? It's as of the close Wednesday is the options. So, okay. So it is happening Thursday, but you need to get your money in Wednesday. I would say that this is an 88, 90 level there on boot. I was going to say Walgreens there, Boots, but it's
Walgreens,
not. This
Boots
is
Alliance.
Boot Barn Holdings. What do you got?
No, I'm just going to show it's an 8% short float. What's actually spicy about that is most stocks that approach 10% short float don't have daily charts that look like this. Like, that is a very healthy looking chart. I mean, again, I don't know anything about them, but that's a very healthy looking chart to the upside to have 8% short float. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so just quickly here in the chat, yeah, exactly what I said was going to happen here. Havana Woody's, I think, pretty familiar trading stocks, that split. Contract goes, so that's exactly what I said, just repriced. So 100 shares at 10 shares because you're reverse splitting, right? So you get less shares on that one. So you're going to have to wait to see what happens, $4 to 40. So the premium should just go up and down the way it is expected to move. So there it is.
Just a couple of things here.
Microsoft's tanking. Which
Yeah,
is good.
we just up downed. It's not even a term. We over undered 15,000 just now. So
Up downed?
the over undered is the right word. We false broke 15,000 on the NASDAQ. Up down is not a thing. Over under is an actual thing. So one, I'm taking more profit on U.S. Steel because I'll ring register there. The only reason I will barely get to green today is because I didn't have the right risk to reward ratio between U.S. Steel, which was the best thing, and then what's that sucker? Actually, that's not true. It's because I added to that position on VFS. Like I can't say it enough. If I don't make one move, and that's this one right here, this short, and then adding to it $2 lower, I'd be up today. And that's the one. It's like, but if you think about that, that's an extra $3 worth of risk on that entry point, right? So that when it stops out and I adhere to my stop, I'm able to get back in on a wick and get $3 back, and then get back in the short and then get $5. But that's just a horrible place to add to the position. I should have limited the risk to that. But it is what it is. You got to be able to move on. The market heads back into the downside. Meta, we got the reload. Hey, my chart's working on Meta now. So right back in at 289 on Meta. It goes back into the 88.5 as the market got underneath that 15,000 block as well. Got up to 56. It's starting to pull back in there. I want to make sure I'm getting something out into the low of the day on this. Block 56, a level from, I can just go back to the daily chart to show you guys. I mean, 55 is the big level on the daily, but if you look at the 15 or yesterday's bottom, breaking yesterday's bottom, so looking for some previous support to turn into resistance on the way back in, and that gives you a level to trade off of when the futures get to 15,000 and do that thing that they've been doing pretty much the entire day, which is flush after said fact. So the market is going to the downside. Drago says, rest in peace, AMC. Well, it's actually bouncing off the low today. So I looked over. You made me look because I thought maybe this was actually coming back to the downside. My last trade on AMC was in 52s and out 56 for an L. But it has been a short pretty much all the way. I think that short might be done for the day on AMC. Down 18%, but as you can see, it's made a bit of a bottom here off that 250 level.
All right. I don't know what anybody's saying anymore. All right, so we actually, rang the register, so let's do a little bit of that. Let's do this, because this is what Microsoft's been, at least today for us. A little bit of money coming back in now for Softy, as there it is. It's about to join the dollar club. You know what? Screw this, man. It's 5 cents away. We're going to hit it anyways, get this party going right now. So there it is. It's a nice little move back down for us on Microsoft. And hey, why not? Let's put it right in the dollar club right now. And that's that. We just need one fill down here. And it is an official now member of said club as... again, there. Actually, we just got to fill, so there it is. So we'll take that now into consideration. All right. So the other thing too is, I said that little rant about Nvidia and at 460, and that we would rather have chosen Microsoft, and we did do that. But guess what just happened again? There, the exact same trade again came out to Nvidia at 460. So I feel like we'll have to talk about this on the after show again. And that is about sort of being kind of like tossed around on a stock and then avoiding it because, you're feeling like you're not feeling the stock. You have to be him every day. And that's what I'm trying to be. And it's like, if you trust some of your reads, you have to go back and start to trust some of said reads, as Microsoft right now is really coming back down in. But again, I trusted this and we reloaded it. It's fine, but we could have definitely had some more take there on Nvidia. That's that, man. It's like, make a lot of money back there today, but definitely should have hit that Nvidia short again right there at 460. Because like I said, even if you do a couple shares there, boom, couple shares there, boom, it all adds up at the end of the day. And whether or not I would have held for $3, probably. I mean, I took $3 hits. But anyways, nice little move back down in for Nvidia. Do we even want to go long? I mean, maybe if you come down in here into 430 or something like that. But look at that 15,000 take. Remember what I said? You can go short at 15,000, give it 10 handles. That's exactly where it went. And now you're in the money 25 handles. So a little bit of a 2.5 to 1 R to R there on the futures if you're looking at a trade to come back through there. I also have a very interesting graphic about SPACs and what they've been doing. So get ready for that one.
Exceptionally well?
Exceptionally very, very well, especially if the only SPAC you ever took was VinFast.
I was actually just trying to think of another one I'm sure, like, I'm absolutely sure that there is another SPAC out there that's pretty good, but I can't think of one. I'm now out of U.S. Steel. We're done with it. It just got up to like 32.10, the 15-minute. Again, I went to the 15-minute because I'm having the data issue, but missing some data in here. But you can see the last bounce that was good over VWAP got to about 32.15. But we're now at 325. It is time to get out, get flat, get out, take your profit and run. We're rejecting 15,000. If this wants to follow the market at some point, it might turn around a little bit here. I'm sure I'm going to come up with something in terms of like a quality SPAC. I don't mean something that did something gimmicky. I'm sure there's something that came to market via SPAC, which has done well over the last couple of years. It's just going to be hard to figure it out. Tesla, I was just looking at Tesla. You talk about levels that have been rinsing and repeating. It doesn't seem like a level that makes any sense here. It's not 235, but 234 on Tesla. Once and now twice.
Yeah.
You have a bit of a double top in there. The analogy you were making there, I think it's kind of like in poker, like no matter, like you can't not play like ace queen on the button in a good spot just because the last time that you kind of you 3-betted or something, you might have lost it and you got a bad beat. You can't then not play it the next time. Like you just have to make every single positive expectancy play in the game of poker. And in trading, which I like to liken the mentality the same way, you have to take every positive expectancy trade. Now you can clean up your executions of those trades, but you still take them because they're a positive expectancy for you. And that's what this game is all about. That's why it's like a mental game more than anything else. Kind of like poker is a bit of a mental game. So Tesla 234, I don't know if we're going to get a bounce back into 15,000, but if we do get a retest, 234 on Tesla. Short that level until it stops, and the 234 on Tesla looks like a good way to be able to go about it. And of course, I knew this was going to happen, but sometimes it'd be like that. A smart trader once said that. Sometimes it'd be like that. I decided that this was holding up way too long, and I would trail it out again and just take what it was going to give me, but it is going to flush into the downside on that VFS. And the way I look at it, it's usually when you're making this play, it's supposed to resolve itself right away. And when it makes the big breakdown, you're looking for it to absolutely flush. This has done none of those things. So maybe it does it tomorrow, and maybe it does it without me. I don't know. I will try it if it sets up again. But the key is that only traded at the key levels. To me, that was 25. Go back that far, it hasn't been trading that long. That was 25, you can see 25 here, you can see 30, good levels off 30 where that big size was, and then the 40 level. And the thing about the key levels is there's actually going to be reasonable liquidity on a stock like this at prices like that, and everywhere else there tends not to be. That's why you're able to at least get out with without unreasonable slippage when you trade a key price. And worth noting, when this started to go down, the last time I had a parabolic day, the second day, was when we saw that big seller show up. So it was after it made the big parabolic move that we saw that big seller at 30.50, which kind of gave you I don't want to say it was a free money short, but it did go a couple of dollars. I mean, it was easy to risk because you knew you could get out, and then the following day it flushed. So if we see the same pattern, great. I'm no longer in it. I decided to trail it out. But as I said, I had taken out half at that 38 level and then eventually all at that 38 level. So it was never going to get everything back because of that execution there. But the market is giving it to you, just like X going to give it to you. Good thing we got out of that one. I think that's going to flush with the rest of the market. Square coming back into the downside. Just got the first bid there. So arrows down. It doesn't matter when you join the trend so long as you join it. That's the thing in the markets, right? Because you can only make the next trade. And the next trade usually is going to be following the trend. So just find something you can get a consolidation or a pop into a good level. Short it. Square is working. Meta's working. Everything's working to the downside.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about working to the downside here. Microsoft is definitely working to the downside now, taking out the day's low. There's no more important of a point to trade the right names. I shorted Alibaba. I shorted Alibaba at the same time as I shorted Microsoft. This name's not even close to moving. Like, we were able to get out of some of it down here. Not even close to falling down. Meanwhile, Microsoft is at the day's low, $1.40 in the money. Microsoft at the day's low, and the NASDAQ's not even close. So, I mean, I shouldn't say day's low. Did we get lower? Yeah, day's low right now for Microsoft. So, I mean, look, we were long. Long was great for we were up. Microsoft's been a gem today, man. Nice move to the downside again, and there it goes. So, hey, you know, we'll have the worst stock on the board today, but we also have the best with Microsoft. But again, we'll talk more about that as we go. I'm just going to hold it into the close and see if we do continue to march to the downside. We're below 15,000 and everything. Look, I just put this on here right now. I don't know if this poll is a little bit too aggressive to the upside or not. You guys can tell me what you're thinking here. Just refresh it to get a little bit of an updated thing here. Will Nvidia break $500 on earnings? So we already, wow, I just posted this a minute ago. I have this until tomorrow at close. So that's when we're going to get the report. So you can vote all the way to tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. Maybe I'll change it or whatever. But will we break $500 on earnings? We got to 480 today. Obviously, Nvidia's at 457. I don't think the closing price today is really going to matter that much. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then will it break 500? Doesn't have to close there or anything like that. Will we get up to $500 tomorrow?
Does aftermarket count?
Yeah.
Okay.
Will it just touch 5 bills? You know, will Nvidia touch 5 bills? So we'll see. Again, it's not a scientific question. I mean, you know, I could have put in there after hours excluded or whatever. But will we get up to there? And then, of course, I had to put Ponzi scheme. Is that how you spell scheme? SCHEME?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. Okay, so get those votes going, and let's see what happens right now with this. And I'm interested to see where it floats to. I'm going to say yes. But if I could do like yes and Ponzi scheme, but
12% of the people think that Nvidia is worth nothing. Interesting.
Yeah, the thing is that I also think that you can also get it's a 10% implied move. So that's the other thing, which is kind of why I'm using this number, because if we go 10% up from here, that you're getting to the 5 bills almost exactly right now, and then 10% down would be so it's 400 to 500.
Yeah, I like that because
I mean that's sort of where we're at. By the way, now we're starting to cook.
I feel like you should put it at that,
go.
Whatever it might be. I'm gonna get to you.
Cook.
I want to get to Ian Respeto. We just got a super chat. Appreciate you, Ian. What do you think of Adobe? It has earnings in mid-September, 3 weeks away. Was thinking it as long holding. So, I mean, the founder passing away is obviously a sad story. I don't think that necessarily should affect the stock. ADBE. Adobe, I feel like it's held up pretty well. That's a pretty good sign a lot of times. Like, how are you doing? When the market looks poo-poo sometimes, like, what do you look like? Come on, daily chart. On this little pullback in the market, this has been bouncing off the 50 period, kind of consolidating. A lot can happen in 2 weeks. Well, as I'm going to say this, what's going to happen is Nvidia is going to come out, tank the market, break the 50 period, and we're not going to hold 500 Nvidia or Adobe in front of the earnings, and none of this will matter. But I think if you're holding this level into the market, into any market weakness, and above that 500, it's shown a lot of resilience, probably because it's fundamentally in a very good place, and sometimes fundamentals actually matter in this market. But I would put this under the stocks that is holding up really strong. It doesn't need to rely on as much on like the AI buzz, despite the fact that very clearly like they have been benefiting from AI for like over a decade, and everyone should know that. So it's a great name. I don't think I'm saying anything crazy that 500 has been an absolute linchpin level. The 50 period is there. The last breakout was there. Your support since the breakout is there. 10% down from the highs is there at that 500. So all roads lead to that being a key support area. And if it holds on to that, I think a lot of good things can happen for it. Like, it's down 0.15 today in a day where a lot of like big tech names have looked weak. This hasn't been all that bad. I don't know what happened there at the open, whether that's like maybe that is a real wick. Sometimes it's like dark pool wicks, but I guess it went up like $6 at the open, then right back in. Could have just been running some stops. This looks like it was running some stops. But overall, good name. I do like it. I just think that 500 is a pretty key level. If it breaks that, there's going to be a lot of stops underneath.
I mean, there's Alibaba. I mean, let's go. So I apologize for everybody that followed me in the morning. But, if you traced me here in the afternoon, we have 2 trades on, right? It's Alibaba to the downside. And I said, if we just get more specific on what we're trying to trade, I feel like, we see the levels clearer. I can see clearly now. We can start singing, but we're not going to do that. And it's just like we picked Alibaba. We talked about this level. It came through. and now it's starting to go to the downside. I did think it would go a little more than this, obviously. But okay, we just got a 15 fill, so all is well over in Baba land. And then we gave you Microsoft, which, I mean, how is this going right now, right? So this is $1.50 in the money. So it's just like 2 trades here in the afternoon, both working swimmingly, and then a couple missed opportunities, obviously. I mean, if we had these on board, I mean, what a difference a day would have made. But, you know, we talked about that 460. Now it's starting to fade out a little bit as well. So I don't know. I think we could probably get out of some Microsoft now as we're starting to base down a little bit. Yesterday's close was 321.50. So we're coming into that level. We do have the market on close imbalances coming. We did see it in the main chat there. Yeah, it's 604 to sell right now on the imbalances. There. So we could possibly get a piece out right now, although it is a sell and bounce. We just bounced off 322. I mean, honestly, there's not that much difference right now in these prices where we are right now and versus 322. So we'll put a 27. See, we just build the 27s. And there it goes. Okay, I was going to say we didn't even get filled, but we did there. So there's another piece out for us on Microsoft. Ring the registers for, obviously, it's not a dollar trade. I mean, it's $1.50. So let's go here. Matt, I don't think it was Matt, but someone wants, Fonzie wants to time people out. Yeah, we're not, Bears versus Bulls will be timing people out if there's any inappropriate comments. All right, so 88.05, just looking at this right now. We'll see if we can hold something here on Alibaba, but I'm still looking for lower, baby. We've got some bids at 88.06. Hopefully that'll fill out. Oh man, that's crazy. I just saw my pending orders. We had it, whatever, it was for 400 shares, but we had something up here at 324 that we never got filled on. So that would have been nice to the downside as well. If that would have came in, I might as well just cancel that. And then you know where my stop is? We've already talked about that, 324.11. So right there, just from getting short, I could just see my stop order right now. So getting short at 80s, we're giving that 30 cents. Now 5 to 1 right here on the risk to reward of this. And it's something similar for Alibaba if we do get that fill at O's. So far so good here today. I hope you're enjoying the closing show.
Yeah, the closing show. It's been a good one. That 15,000. We say that number often because when there's a key level, it's like everyone needs to be aware of it. We're talking about the NASDAQ. Pretty much never talk about the ES, but that's fine because we trade tech. Meta just got to the low of the day. It wicked the bottom. We've been holding here in the NASDAQ pretty much every single time you get down there. So when it wicks the bottom, I'm going to get out. Get out while the getting's good. Sometimes a bit early, but the range has been pretty clear off the 89 level. So it's just one level on Meta. Square was a new entry off of 56. We'll see how that one goes. You could always consolidate down here and then pop lower, but it is 337. This is exactly what happened yesterday. And I tend to be a take a target kind of person in terms of getting out. But yesterday when I got at a US Steel, it continued to go as well. And I should maybe sometimes just hold on to a piece of it into the close. It might get to 32.25, but that's been essentially gold, giving you that 31.80-ish down into the 75 level. Makes a double bottom in there. A lot of scalping because it's kind of a buyout, but kind of isn't. So it is working to the upside. JJ in the super chat, appreciate you out there. Good luck versus Yost tonight. Going to be a good series. We need all the help we can get. The Blue Jays need all the help they can get. How we have managed to blow our playoff. I mean, I'm not saying we're blowing our playoff chances. It's just the Jays should be an absolute lock with the talent on that roster. But yeah, we definitely need a lot of help there. Shout out to you, Matt Carnes, as well. Nick Garcia, the consolidation level broke. If we go lower, we are going for session lows. Yeah, we just got down. Some stocks got to session lows. I'm not out of Square because it went one level down and not two, so it's not at the low of the day, so we're still holding on to it, and that's what it's all about. So, you try to make the trade, you try to get the good read on. As I said, one misstep, I added to a position where I got aggressive and greedy where I didn't need to, and I could have just got my entry point off that whole price on VFS, but ultimately, some days the market gives you a chance to get it back and then kind of have a bad day turn to a flat day, which is what happened here. But it's really just about sticking to your guns, sticking to your outs, finding something with a trend, and then working with it. Look at the NQ, absolutely look into the NQ. I mean, the market is going down. I don't think we're going to get Tesla anymore, so let's throw that one out the window. That's that 234 level. I've canceled my order. I was going to sit on the offer out in front of it just in case we pop back up. Now suddenly you could be breaking down at like a 232 if the market can take the lows, you could be breaking down off a level like this and then work down in like $3 to the bottom. There's still room for this to run to the downside, and I think that could be a good one. Don't tell me VFS is pumping again. That's absolutely hilarious if it's still going. Like, this is what I mean. This is what happened last time, and part of the reason why I trailed out of it. It's at the moment where you think it should be absolutely collapsing, it then bounces off the breakout price. It just bounces right off of it and goes right back into the upside instead of capitulating. And that just means there's a lot of shorts that are trying to cover this, that are caught off base, and it doesn't want to give that real flush just yet. Skibby, you're right in the chat. Nvidia is like the Super Bowl for earnings. There is nothing, I can't remember the last time we're looking at an earnings report that we thought could do so much, because whether you tell me 380 or 480 and anything in between, all those prices are possible. And I'm 100% certain that, you know, everybody is going to be, well, you don't have to be trading the chip, but certainly going to be looking at the chips, guiding off the chips, using it as the futures. Like, you could be trading C3AI. Like, if you own shares of C3AI, you trade C3AI, you're going to be plastered to Nvidia earnings. And that's going to be a big one. As a matter of fact, just going to point this out on C3AI. This is, I already talked about Marvel, but this is another name that if Nvidia goes ham to the downside, there is a lot of opportunity for the fade on C3I. It's a squeeze name. I understand that. It's got a big short flow. But if Nvidia gives it up, AI, the $20 level has been huge. The $25 level is huge, and you're trading at 31. So those are the two big levels on the bid. And if you're above 30 and you're going to tell me the downside levels are 25 and 20, then I think AI on any kind of weakness that you might see, should say might see on Nvidia, is going to be a play. It is one of the names I want to trade in addition to Marvell. Marvell is more directly related, obviously, because they're in the same chip sector as well. But AI is probably one of the frothier names out there when it comes to the AI play, because I've never actually, again, I'm not an expert on the company, but I have yet to read anything that explains to me exactly the nuts and bolts of how they're going to justify valuation based on any kind of short-term profit or gains out of the AI space. Everyone understands Nvidia because everyone's training on their chips. Like, I literally spoke to an executive at a reinsurance firm who is their head of AI, and everybody's like, everything is on Nvidia chips. Like, everything he has in his home, it's all Nvidia. It's all Nvidia. So that we all understand that. But you tell me how AI is going to do anything with this in the next 6 months, 1 year, no clue. And that's C3AI, I mean.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, now we're $2.25 in the money on Microsoft. So yeah, so far so good on that one as it continues to go. So it's a nice move down, needless to say here, for Microsoft. It's too bad because we just took some profit there $1 ago. All right. I mean, people are talking about, like, you know, we celebrate our wins. We have to make sure that we talk about our losses. And I feel like, just reading some of the people in the chat, I feel like I did that this morning, talked to you about how much of a disaster day it is right there. So, yeah, I'm a little bit mad about Nvidia. Those people in the chat, nah, I'm not mad. I mean, I'm mad about how I traded it earlier. I'm not mad that I missed this talk, because at least I gave it to everybody and told you why I was staying away from it, but I probably should not have. And just like now, this is probably a long on Nvidia, but we will bypass that right now. It's only 343, but the one thing that we have to do and continue to do for you is to make sure that everyone on this channel is well aware, because come September, even though it says down here September 5th, it's actually the 30th is what I've heard. So you have to get in right now. Apply now. If you did want to come in here, trade on our platform. It's not come in here, but be part of Day Trade the World. You could be part of this now with this campus program. It's actually a great opportunity to trade real money and gain real experience for absolutely nothing. So there are different people that have sponsored this show and whatnot that have a charging facility. We don't do that at all. This is just, you apply now. There's going to be training. And the idea is that you enjoy trading until eventually you get into the live mode. We trade on a prop floor. So Day Trade the World is prop trading. So they're going to take a percentage of any money that you make. So the idea is behind it is that you can gain all this experience, trade the capital that's provided to you, go through training mode, go through live mode, and then it's 16 hours a week. That's it, man. Do you have what it takes? Time to step up, or shut up, quite frankly, in this game. And if you have what it takes, make sure you hit apply now, because this is what it's all about. There's a lot of people out there, and we see them on. Thank you so much for that, Fabian, for reminding us to do that. But there's so many traders out there that you see on social media that pretend to trade. And it's just like, this is everyone's opportunity. If you want this, you know, come in and trade. I don't have a problem showing my wins, my losses, talking a little bit about, you know, the positions that we have on board and what we're looking at here every single day. It's one thing to post stuff on Twitter. It's another thing to actually be him. And I just think that that's a great opportunity for everybody to join this. See how you do. See how well you do. See if you can put together a couple of successful months or whatever it takes to get into live mode. Because the minute you've done that, then you've hit some successful milestones. You're not an actual trader until you can make enough money to support yourself, right, as a living, if that's what you wanted to do. So why not take advantage of this if you're in a campus situation? Either you're in a school or you could be retired as well. You have extra hours and you want to put it towards learning the markets.
Part-time job, anything.
Exactly. So that's what it's all about.
If you trade out west, like one of the more popular things, I know a lot of traders in Vancouver do this. I don't want to speak for everybody out west, but you can literally have a normal 9 to 5, trade the opens, learn at the opens, and then have the opportunity to still go to your job. Like you just get up early. I've heard of traders that have done that. That's a pretty cool way to be able to sort of fund your learning experience. But again, it's all about learning, because it's not an easy game, man. And that's the thing. Like it's not easy, and it's a lonely job too. Because unless you have a trading floor, which is part of why we do this, then you're sitting there by yourself trying to figure things out. That's why we have such a fantastic community. The market, it's crazy that we're just going to bounce off the bottom again, if we bounce off the bottom again. But the NASDAQ does go to the lows, and it is bouncing. I just want to point out I haven't talked about this stock at all. That's PanW. But I just looked at it and just realized that it got back underneath that gap up top only like a couple of minutes ago. I hadn't watched it once. That's 235. Like PanW under 235. If it doesn't hold on to this, it's got a really ridiculously large gap that it could fill. And then 235 was the Fortinet level when they reported their earnings. It kind of broke down that level as well, that 235. So underneath here is not necessarily a good look for PanW, although for those that are trying to get in, maybe it starts a dip into another buying opportunity, which some people have missed. I may or may not have missed it. That's why I'm saying it.
I'm just going to confirm that. Says September 5th.
The start date?
Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so I just want to confirm that. So I'm confirming that right now to make sure that that is the right start date. Okay, it's about time right now that we turn these hot dogs into actual profits, if I can even find it right there. There it is right now. Because Microsoft is coming out in about 3 minutes. We do have the imbalances to come through. So I'm just bidding now 60. See if we can get that fill. If it does come back in, this is a pretty good spot for us. We are $2 in the money now. It did go down to 321.50 and bounced around a little bit. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to get out now and then just hope that the imbalances are lower. I mean, we already have a sell. We've seen stocks just act a little nuts. I mean, if you've been here with us before, this is the imbalance locator that we're talking about. Please make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button so that you can come back. But we've already sort of demonstrated what can happen here. These are early looks from the morning. They're not updated now. I'll just zoom this over so you guys can see. See 929 there. What did, is this Bombardier? Did they halt at one point today? No. Okay, so as of 5:48 there.
Oh, you know what? No,
I did see something.
It's Banco Bradesco.
Oh, that's, Bombardier's BBB.T or something on Canada. Oh, this is one of those Brazilian names? Okay, forget it. So there might have been something there. But anyways, either way, as we go, by the way, there it is right there. The fill on Mr. Softy just came in right there. So that's a $2 win. But this will update itself, and then we'll show you the exchanges and everything like that at 350. So taking the risk away from that, we'll hold a little piece. I mean, we got to see where it goes. And we did the same thing right now on Alibaba, because again, this one is again another one that's about 2 to 3 to 1 in the money. We'll see if it can take down 87.90. Is that the low of the day? Yes, it is. So we basically got this from top to bottom right here. 87.90. Let's put a bid there in case it is a sell imbalance coming in 1 minute. We'll put a bid right here at 88 and another one a little bit lower just to catch the fill on the way down.
Exactly, and just You see that Peloton that you just showed there on the imbalance locator? I can show you. I'll have it up on mine. So it's showing you the morning. There was a residual buy imbalance on Palantir. Palantir on the brain a bit. Peloton 700,000, and the auction price was at 714. Just to give you an idea, 11 I should say. Just to give you an idea what happened at 9:30. It actually busted out to that level. It opens right at that 11. And that residual took it right to 750. Every now and then, and sometimes it'll happen on the stock which maybe there's not as many shares traded, 700,000 is a big deal. It's done 14 million on the day. So that was a decent imbalance. Now, obviously, I wasn't watching the imbalances, was paying probably too much attention to that 480 level on Nvidia at the open, probably rightfully so. But that was a pretty good bid. Sometimes you want to look for that. Every now and then at the close, there'll be a big imbalance that gives you a move, but that actually was something on Peloton. He gave it all back because that's kind of a gimmicky trade, but that's not a bad entry point there. The imbalances are out. ICSU sell 3 million. Apple 800,000 to sell. J&J sell. Kenvue's probably a buy. 800,000 to sell on J&J. Grabs a small stock. It doesn't really matter. NEO is a buy of 500,000. NCLH 500,000 is not that big. Not really anything else on big cap. As I said, Kenvue's a buy, but that's relatively small as well. Not a lot here, so it looks like it's just Apple for 800,000 to sell on the big cap tech names, and then SU out of nowhere. It's 3 million to sell on SU seems a little bit. That's kind of like off base. Like I don't usually see that big on that name. Let's see what's going on here. It moved down like 2 cents, and there was a volume spike, but that's not that big of a. For 3 million sell, it's done 3 million volume on the day, and it moved 1 cent. So my guess is that's just going to pair right off.
Yeah, I would say that's probably there. Okay, so just quickly here, Dan Edmonds, when price rejected the initial balance low, bulls were just pissing into the wind today. So yeah, there it is, very, very similar to that 15,000 mark. Not only did you have that come into play, but it was also VWAP right there. So yeah, definitely. I'm just glad, Dan and everybody else, that I switched over into the short because, I mean, it was just, we just hit pay dirt there into this close. So it was a really good day, obviously. Good afternoon for me. Not a great day, obviously, as we keep on talking about that. Where did Palantir wind up? Ooh, Palantir, ooh, you want to talk about pissing into the wind. Palantir hits 15 bucks and straight down right here in the afternoon. But it does look very, very similar to the NASDAQ there as well. So I did punch out some once this came out. I think we got 7s or 8s on Alibaba. I am still bidding 01s and then 90s. But actually, now that you're mentioning that, I didn't see Alibaba on here. I just was watching the action and I didn't even look. I don't have a big position left. I only have a 20% left after punching out. Yeah, I don't see Alibaba on here.
I didn't.
So, I mean, it's not. The minute you get anything, if anything's like below 500, then I don't really care. I mean, we could just sort this out.
A lot of stuff's paired. Palantir was there for $500,000 and now it's gone. So it must have already paired.
BA? Oh my God, BA. Thing is, like when I sort this, look at all these BAC things. Like what the hell? Oh, there it is right there. Yeah, so Alibaba right now, nothing. So it's actually a buy. So why is there 2? Oh yeah, ARCA, that's right. I got to get rid of ARCA. So
you know I never get rid of that.
Yeah, you probably should.
I probably
doesn't double up the shares. So.
Yeah, it's just.
Anyways, okay, that's that.
I want to get to the super chat here. Nick Garcia, thank you for the super chat. All we ever ask is that you A, enjoy the show, B, hit the like and subscribe and grow it so we can all learn from each other. People expect you guys to win 100%. Anyone that wins 100% is cheating or lying, or an algo. And you're 99.9%. And your trades. Of your trades, when 30% win rate, this is key, at 4 to 1 is profitable. Now, people are right once and they are on social media bragging. That's the key thing right there. Like 100% win, who cares about a 100% win rate? I mean, I've seen momentum traders at Day Trade the World who have like 51 to 55%. I know one guy that actually tracked it. If he looked at a very specific strategy, it was like 51%, but the risk reward was good. So if he was flipping a coin and his R&R was good, that was a good trade. We just take those all the time. And that's what it's about. Some traders only look for that big home run trade where they need to win 1 out of 3. That can possibly work too. Or you can look for a rate where, hey, you're just more actively taking your profits with tighter stops, and then maybe you're like 60, 70, 80%. All of those things are possible as long as you find a good reason to get in, find a good level to get in, have a good reason to get out and a level to get out, and then manage to take profits on the way. Like that's essentially all trading is. It doesn't make it easy. but there needs to be a structure to it. And the other thing is when you're recording your results, if you don't have some kind of a quantifiable strategy that you can figure out this is what I'm trying to do, then it's almost difficult to record your results in any way that is then forward projecting. Because if it's just all discretionary where you're shooting off the cuff instead of like enter, my stop is to the local high, that kind of a thing, it'll be difficult to track the trades that maybe you missed an execution here or there, but you'll be able to look at it and say, this is exactly what I would have wanted to do. There's liquidity for it. This is where my hard stop would be, and it would have gotten run or it would not have gotten run. So shout out to you, Nick Garcia. You're going to be covering some earnings in the aftermarket. It's not the big one, but there's still a few that we're watching, both, I guess, in the aftermarket, and then we'll look for some in tomorrow morning. Toll Brothers, anything that is in the retail space is now going to be on watch after what the ass just happened to Macy's and Dick's Sporting Goods. Anything can happen to Urban Outfitters as far as I'm concerned, because if you told me Dick's Sporting Goods was going down 25% and Macy's 15%, no chance. I didn't think it. Williams-Sonoma, Bed Bath & Beyond, Peloton is probably your big volatility, I get predictable volatility name, I want to say. I don't know what else we're looking for
Peloton's
there.
tomorrow morning, right? Yeah,
Tomorrow
okay.
morning.
So then, that's not Bed Bath & Beyond, of course. Kohl's, again, Foot Locker. We've seen some worries in China, despite me getting all these Foot Locker notices now. That should be a good one there. Williams-Sonoma, the higher quality retail furniture store. I mean, that's going to be a good one as well. That's been hit. I mean, there's been a lot of different names. Grab, I don't know what, I guess that's not Grubhub.
Is that Grab's the one I've been seeing on the imbalance locator, isn't it?
Is it? Is that?
I feel like I keep seeing that on the locator. It always pairs off. It's not there anymore. Sometimes I wish I would just screen grab it when it came out, because I'd swear I've seen Grab on the imbalance locator like 2 days in a row, and then it always pairs off. It's a $3 stock that doesn't do a heck of a lot of volume. But yeah, I mean, Peloton, for sure, that is one worth watching. It's one worth trading. We've been there before. And it has a decent, anything with a good short float, generally speaking, is going to give you some volatility in either direction. I'm just double checking. 10% short float. Stock has been getting its butt kicked, generally speaking. Like we said, it had that bounce today, but it is, oh wow, it is right at a quadruple bottom on the daily.
So many good names like that.
Oh
right now.
my goodness. Can you say flat bottom break? Or, I mean, it could bounce off that level too. My head goes to flat bottom break when I see something like this instead of a bounce, because it's Peloton. Like if a quality company had a level like that, you're thinking long. When Peloton has a level like that, I'm thinking breakdown. So we'll see what happens to it tomorrow. 3 minutes to go. Imbalances, almost all of them paired off. Do have to get out of this block trade, as it doesn't seem like it wants that low of the day. Yeah, I'm just going to get out if it breaks to 56. Break even will be fine here. At 3:55, there's always a major pairing event, and then the fly decides to fly in front of my keyboard as well. So we got to get out. We only have 3 minutes to go.
Yep, and we just saw, so I got it out some more Alibaba there. We actually did get that 05 or 02 fill, sorry, right down there. So that was a good one. And now, or was it 01s? Anyways, one of those fills. Now we'll wait to see if it does come back in. Look, man, it's been a big day here. Lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to have a good time in the after show. It is September 5th is the cutoff for the next cohort. So it is right on the website. So if you did want to look there, that is right for that. All right, so yeah, getting ready to rock and roll. Oh, Williams-Sonoma was another one there that I want to talk about quickly, because again, in the higher end retail side of things, I don't think they're going to have too much looting in their stores unless you can carry out, like high quality, like oak, furniture, maybe. But
You got Sharif with you.
if you got Sharif with you, yeah, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. Right there, but anyways, sorry, I don't want to look at this. I want to look at the daily chart right here. So pullback, broke through the 50-period moving average. I think this is at risk again of coming back in. But then if it comes in down to 110-ish, I feel like this is a good buying opportunity for WSM Williams-Sonoma. So if you are interested in any of this kind of talk, join me in just 5 minutes, and we'll go over all of that as we will have some of these plays coming through just tonight. Williams-Sonoma, of course, tomorrow morning. But we'll talk about key levels and whatnot as we go. All right, man, only a minute and a half left. It doesn't look like we'll get too much lower on Alibaba than where we are right now. So I'm going to cancel my stop orders on all these stocks, as they're obviously nowhere close. And we will get out of these and, celebrate what was a great afternoon and not a great morning.
Yeah, the afternoon, I mean, once you join the trend, that 15,000 rejection is all you can ask for. However, anybody that voted red, the market ending red, the NASDAQ is making a late push to reverse that. 68%. of the 967 of you who voted. So 967 voted. And
Congratulations.
how many likes do we have on the show? 695. So more people interested in voting red on the poll than actually liking the show. It's a bit of a disappointment, but I think Cat will probably ring the bell anyways. I think it's going to be a blast. The after show's been kicking it, and during earnings season, it's only better because you get a lot of fun things to talk about and prepare you for tomorrow morning. So go absolutely nowhere. We got about 30 seconds to go in here, and the NASDAQ is doing everything it can to try and go green today. It would just feel very weird if the NASDAQ were to close with a green number next to it, because that ain't the feelings that you get. But then people peg it to where you closed the day before. Even if it closes green, it damn sure was down in my book, because that's what we're looking at. In under 15 seconds, we have Refrain is going to be on the bell, although Katrine is also getting up too, so I guess it is going to be the tag. No, it's not. You psyched me out. In 5, 4, 3, what are you drinking there? 2 and 1.
It's a red. I think that's a Red Bull right there. That's a Red Bull right there.
Refrain is all about the Red Bull, apparently. So sometimes you need to get wings, I suppose, and fly over to the bell there.
Red Bull can give you wings, apparently.
Yes.
Okay, man. Yeah, we did finish
vodka.
red. So was there a vote in the? I voted red, so that was good there. What's up, pro day trader? Yeah, let's go. We're about to get ready to go here and kick it for you in the after show. So it's been a great one here so far today. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thanks to Ramin, Fabian, Kat's behind us over there, Brendo at the big desk, the midday guys. I mean, everybody loves my guy over here, Max. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Professor.
Going to Barcelona.
Yeah, when does Max go to Barcelona?
So he leaves tomorrow. Whether he leaves tomorrow morning or afternoon, I'm not sure. I know tomorrow he leaves. I don't know if he's doing the show tomorrow and then leaving, or...
We'll have to talk to him because I'm off next Friday. So
no, but Obi's in. Obi's in.
Yeah, I know Obi's in, but if Max is not here...
Well, I don't know how long he's there.
All right, we'll figure it all out. All right. Yeah, thanks for a good show.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast for everybody here. You already saw Ramin, Fabian on the 1s and 2s, absolutely kicking butt. The midday guys doing it. Brennan at the desk. But let's get on over to the after show because we got earnings to get to. See you tomorrow.
All right, let's get you caught up on how things wrapped up as we end the day in the red. Unfortunately for the NASDAQ, it was basically the opposite of what we saw yesterday. So strong throughout the day.